Hey guys, Kyoji here. Before the video starts, I want to clarify something. I'll be skipping certain parts of the Birdman's response because a lot of it focuses on insulting kennel flex, diving into political topics. That is not what this channel is about. I'm strictly focusing on the Predator Badlands criticism. With that out of the way, let's get into it.
I have already debunked the marketing numbers these outlets like to use in a previous video, but the short version is that these numbers are based on estimates from sites like Deadline, an outlet that lists themselves as the source for their claims. There exists zero evidence that this film spent $70 million on its marketing. This is a regurgitation from another outlet who is repeating the claim from another outlet. I implore literally anyone watching this, find an actual source for this number, and all you will find is the word estimate over and over, and literally nothing from Disney themselves.
First, I don't agree with the whole argument that the box office automatically proves the film was a success in the way you're framing it. The reported budget was around $150 million, while it made around $160 million domestically. The global numbers don't exactly scream runaway hit either. That said, I'm actually in the minority who believe that box office numbers don't always determine quality. We see movies made a lot of money and still widely criticized. A good example would be a certain live-action remakes that made massive profits but were heavily disliked by the audience. On the flip side, we've seen solid films underperform financially. Ballerina, the John Wick spin-off, is a good example of a movie many people enjoy but didn't explode at the box office. So using it made money as a shield against criticism feels weak. Financial performances doesn't automatically equal strong writing or good storytelling.
People like this also leave out that we live in 2026, and that films in 2026 are not only making money at the box office, but are making money through merchandising deals, direct merch sales, and home release. As of the writing of this video, Badlands released on Disney Plus and Hulu a couple days ago and immediately became a top performer on those platforms, which in turn drive revenue for those streaming platforms. Calling films flops at the box office is basically meaningless in today's age because movie studios are making money off these films in a variety of new ways, and that's why they're not in theaters that long anymore. They literally don't need it.
We also have to acknowledge the shift in viewing habits. Streaming services are the major factor in why theater numbers aren't what they used to be. A lot of people would rather wait and stream something than risk paying theater prices for something that may not be enjoyable. Predator Badlands released in theaters on November 7th, 2025. It then became available for digital purchase and rental on January 6th, 2026, before finally hitting streaming services on February 12th, 2026. So this was not an instant move to streaming. It had full theatrical run and a paid digital window before it ever became included with a subscription. An audience had multiple opportunities to support it financially, yet it still underperformed in theaters. Then once streaming hits, it reportedly becomes one of the most viewed titles on the platform. That says something very clear. People today are far more willing to try a movie when it's included in a service they're already paying for, especially if it's unsure whether it's good or bad. They rather wait than risk spending theater or rental money on something they may not like. It shows the shift in consumers' behavior. Theaters require commitment, digital requires payment, and streaming requires curiosity. And when curiosity is enough to drive views, but not enough to drive ticket sales, that tells you the audience prefer low-risk viewing over upfront investment. Ignoring that reality oversimplifies the discussion.
So we're taking obvious jokes seriously now?
When Birdman says a certain comment was quote-unquote a joke, I'm not convinced. Not because I'm trying to twist anything, but because the tone matters. In past situations, we've seen him react very strongly to edgy jokes made by others. So when the same energy isn't applied consistently, it feels questionable.
The prequel comic, where it's shown precisely why Deck's father, Nior, wanted him killed. Deck was tasked with recovering a machine part, and Deck believes this will put him on the path to becoming blooded. He literally says that in the comic, meaning, yes, this franchise is following the established lore.
Are we automatically assuming the comic is permanently canon to the film? Because that's not always how franchise continuity works. There are plenty of examples where extended materials get overwritten later. A good example is the Monsterverse. The comic Godzilla Aftershock was considered canon before Legacy of the Monsters came out, and then certain events conflicted, which made parts of it questionable. So canon and expanded material is not always set in stone.
So we get to the movie and we learn that Quay was secretly tasked with killing his brother for this failure. Quay disobeyed a direct order from his clan's leader and attempted to fight his father, thus opening himself up to being rightfully killed according to Yautja law. You can clearly see that Nior aimed his plasma caster at Dek, and Quay steps in front of it and raises his sword against his clan leader. So you see, Doxo Flex, you labeled the wrong Yautja as a bad blood. If anything, Quay was the bad blood. I mean, even if you reject all of what I just said, on your own source, it clearly states that high-ranked seasoned warriors have leeway with the code.
From what I researched from what we see in the film, Dek's brother Quay is blooded. Birdman's claim is that Quay broke the honor code by protecting Dek from their father. I'm going to explain why that conclusion isn't airtight. From the movie perspective, Dek's father attempts to kill him because he views him as a runt, but being labeled as a runt does not automatically mean dishonorable. In the opening scene, Dek is shown training and holding his own against Quay before stepping on a platform that collapses. He does not flee, he does not refuse combat, in fact, he appears willing to fight to the death. There is no clear on-screen moment where Dek commits a several honor code violations, and that matters. Bad blood status requires several violations of the Yautja honor code. Rank alone does not determine guilt, and being viewed as weak does not automatically equal dishonor. If Dek never clearly established as a bad blood, then the father's attempt to execute him becomes questionable under the code, and if an execution itself is not clearly justified, then Quay interfering is not automatically dishonorable. It becomes morality ambiguous, not confirmed violation. Even if we assume the comic is canon, the father's motivations appear rooted in personal shame or viewing Dek as a failure, not enforcing a clearly demonstrated code violation.
Dek fails this task, as upon recovering the machine part, there is an explosion which causes him to drop and lose that part. This greatly angers his father, and this, along with being a runt, is why Nior wants him killed.
Yautja's lore also makes it clear that killing an honorable Yautja is taboo, so if Dek was not dishonorable, the father's action could themselves be seen as violating the code. So the core issue is the film does not clearly establish that Dek committed a several honor code violation. Without that confirmation, labeling Quay as a bad blood for interfering relies on assumptions, not definitive evidence. At the end of the day, a lot of this debate is coming from wiki summaries and secondary sources. That means we should probably take some of these claims with a grain of salt unless we're pulling directly from the primary canon material. There is room for interpretations.
Okay, but hear me out, Birdbrain. What if people think the source material is bad too?
Irrelevant. The critical drinker stated this movie was redefining what a Predator movie should be, and I prove the film followed already established lore. There's no reason to seriously address this subjective value judgment.
I disagree with the idea that sources don't matter. They absolutely do. For example, take Ironheart. I haven't read the comics, I haven't watched the show, but based on trusted breakdowns and summaries, there are clear writing inconsistencies being pointed out. If a character claims to need money to build a suit but later builds one from scrap parts without money, that's a writing issue worth discussing. Sources matter because they inform the framework of an argument, but at the same time, adaptation isn't locked. A character that may have been poorly handled in one version can absolutely be written better in another. So yes, interpretation is just, but dismissing the source material entirely doesn't strengthen the argument either.
It's a metric that he accepts. If you want to claim he can pick and choose when to accept the audience score, then both of you are being disingenuous and lose credibility as media critics, because what you are communicating is that you have no standards and only accept a metric when you agree with the results of that metric. And for clarity's sake, agree with them makes no sense here. I am talking about a tool used to gauge the audience's feelings on a media property. He can disagree with an outcome of a poll, but that doesn't mean he all of a sudden disagrees with polls.
I don't think Rotten Tomato scores, critics' ratings, or even the audience scores should be treated as final words on whether a movie is good or bad. Metrics can show reception, but they don't automatically prove quality. We've seen plenty of movies make a lot of money or score high that still get heavily criticized from viewers. We also seen movies underperform that people generally enjoy. So when the argument becomes the numbers prove everyone likes it, I just don't agree with that framing. Popularity and quality aren't always the same thing. If review metrics matter in one case, they should matter consistently, not only when they support your position.
I give irrefutable evidence that the critical drinker blatantly lied, and Cottonmouth here tries to say that this is the drinker's subjective opinion. I'm sorry, you cannot have a subjective opinion that two distinctly different things look the same when they do not. That's not what subjective opinion means. He saw an area with literally zero vegetation and said the place with an overabundance of vegetation looks like the place with zero vegetation. I'm sorry, sir. That's just a lie.
This isn't a defense of Kino or Drinker. I just think calling them a liar over something like environmental designs is excessive. We're talking about subjective interpretation. One person can find desert or forest environments visually engaging while the other finds them bland. I've seen movies and games using similar settings in creative ways, so saying someone is lying just because they didn't find it interesting feels like a stretch.
Deck is unblooded, you moron. He has yet to fulfill his duties to the clan. Drinker's dumbass idea was for him to just return and kill his father. I explained that doing this doesn't prove anything to the clan, as the clan requires you to hunt something to become a part of it, not kill the clan leader.
Normally, an unblooded or young-blooded becomes blooded by completing Ascension Hunt. It typically involves killing worthy prey and serves as a formal rite of passage. However, the lore also establishes expectations. If a Yautja eliminates a confirmed bad blood, that act can be considered a high honor achievement and may substitute for the traditional rite. If the father does classify as a bad blood, then eliminating him could satisfy the requirements and justify accelerated status.
You are expressing is a subjective value judgment. The logic as presented in the film was that Thea extensively studied Yautja culture and that she has a universal translator. She attempts to speak Yautja at the beginning, but she's not good at it, so she switches to universal translation mode. When she studied Yautja culture isn't shown because when she studied Yautja culture is not important for the story that the film is trying to tell. You're watching a science fiction film about sentient aliens with laser swords. Suspend your disbelief. Not having every detail of a character's past doesn't mean a film is bad or even wrong for not telling you.
I don't see how this part is subjective when it directly involves established Yautja lore. The Honor Code clearly states that Yautjas must not allow other species to become aware of their existence. That's why in most Predator films, we see them activate a self-destruct devices to erase evidence. In Predator Concrete Jungle, they even return to Earth to record their technology and remove traces of themselves. That's consistent franchise behavior. So when a story portrays outside species having detailed knowledge about them, it raises legit lore consistency issues. As Predator fans, this is actually one criticism I can agree with. It clashes with how carefully the Yautja traditionally protect their secrecy. This isn't about personal takes, it's about intentional consistency with the established universe. Alright, my greenies, that's everything I disagree with the Birdman regarding on the movie itself. With that, I also want to announce something. This will be the last video where Tomoko appears as a PNG. In the next video, we'll be covering Matt Franks again, and then the final one on Entrum. My character Kyoji will officially take the spotlight as the main presence on the channel. Just a small evolution moving forward. This is Kyoji the Green Kaijin signing out. I'll see you greenies later.